Granny died, and I can't remember how old I was, but I was real young.
Butch, I remember Granny, and I was probably no more than 4.
I couldn't have been over
You
6
were,
or 7.
you were
probably.
say 7, in that range anyway.
Yeah, I
probably.
couldn't have been very
Could've been
old.
6. 6
But
to 8.
Granny and I were real close.
Mhm.
And Granny used to she used to love to play tricks on me. I know, you remember them little tiny grape drinks?
Yes.
I know we'll forget it
Tiny,
all.
that's what it's called, I think.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
called a
well,
tiny.
oh
It was
my
a little,
gosh.
little small bottle of grape drink.
Exactly, I do.
I wish I was damn one of them.
Yeah.
But I remember one time she told me, said, if you want to really make it taste good, lay down and drink it.
What?
She was an old woman, but she loved to play tricks
You were
on me.
99?
I'm a little
I'll
kid.
beat the cat out.
Oh.
So I laid down on the sofa and turned up there and went all up my nose. She cackled. She thought that was the funniest thing in the world. You know?
Oh, gosh.
Old Granny.
Yeah, I think she passed.
And
Right at
Uncle
the same time I
Tom?
was born.
Yeah,
I
you
couldn't have been more
were
than a
barely
year.
born at that time. I don't know if you were even born when she died.
I'm not sure.
Uncle Tom's there too, Butch. Uncle Tom.
Yeah, Uncle Tom was there too. I remember him well. But when Granny died, like I say, we've been real close. I mean, she loved me to death, and we just, I thought the world of her. But when she died, it wasn't long after that. I'd go to bed, and as soon as I cut the light out, she would be standing at the foot of my bed. And man, you could hear me scream for 20 miles. And Mama would jump up, come in, and they just, son, go back to sleep. You just had a bad dream. I said, Mama, I didn't dream that. That Granny was standing there. No, son, I know how you loved her, but Granny's dead, Well, this went on, it got to where I was petrified, but she came every night. When I cut that light off, she'd be standing there. And she'd tell me, I've come for you. And I said, Granny, I ain't going. And she said, I've come for you. You gotta go with me. And I would never go, And if she got real near me, I'd scream. And of course, as soon as Mama didn't come in and cut the light on, there's nobody there. And the last time she came, she'd always been by herself. The last time she came, there was other people with her. And they were all standing, and I didn't recognize any of them except her. They were all standing at the foot of my bed. And Granny told me, she said, you gotta go tonight, son. She said, this is the last time I can come. I said, Granny, I'm not going. It was raining cats and dogs. It was a stormy night. Mama had tucked us in, all the windows were down and everything. She said, this is the last time I can come. You've got to go with me tonight. And I said, Granny, I'm not going. Well, she came over and grabbed my covers and just tossed them across the room. And I let out a scream you could have heard forever, I guess. Mama and Daddy both jumped out of bed and come running in there. And when we heard their feet hit the floor, Mama and Daddy, they didn't do like you see in the movies where they just go through the window or something. But they opened the window and they all just floated out the window, every one of them. And when Mama and them come in, the window was open, my bed clothes were across the floor, and they didn't know what to say. I told them what happened, and they kept trying to say, well, you must have been dreaming again, And I said, Mama, this has been happening every night. I wasn't dreaming, But why would the window be open? They knew in that storm they'd check the windows and warned about.
Well, how did they get in though? If they have to.
I don't know. When I cut it, I guess they were already there. But when I couldn't see them. If the light was on, I couldn't see anybody. And the minute I cut that light off, she'd be standing at the foot of my bed. And the last time, there was a bunch of other people with her. And she told me, she said, you've got to go tonight. This is the last time. And I've often thought about that. I don't know what death is exactly and what happens, but I've often wondered, if I'd have said, okay, I'll go with you, would they have found me dead the next morning late? Did my soul leave and go with them? Or, that's often crossed my mind, because I know it was real. It was every night. I got to where I was dreading going to bed. And it was, because it scared me. I was scared to death. And I've often wondered, if I had said, okay, I'll go, I wonder what would have happened. I don't know I know I wasn't dreaming this.
Right.
But I don't know, I just don't know. I don't know what would have happened. what is death exactly? I don't know, I don't know. Well, it's like Reba, remember that, woman that was paralyzed? And Reba was at the hospital. This woman had been paralyzed for years, couldn't move a bit of her body. And Reba was in the hospital room with her. And all of a sudden, this woman sat up in the bed and said, "Oh my God, Jesus is handing me my baby." And sat up in the bed and did like that and died.
I remember that story. That wasn't the aunt.
Wait, what?
The woman that had been paralyzed for years, couldn't move a muscle. And Reba was up there visiting with her.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, this woman sat up in the bed and said, "Oh my God, Jesus is handing," she lost a baby years before that.
Uh-huh.
She said, "Oh my God, Jesus is handing me my baby," and reached up like that and died.
Wow.
Right in front of Reba, and Reba's one told me that, and Reba wouldn't lie,
Who was the old lady that could barely get around? Aunt? Live with grandma and grandpa?
Oh, Lassie.
Aunt Lassie.
Yeah.
That wasn't Aunt Lassie that did that, was it?
No,
That wasn't,
no,
okay.
no.
All right.
No, Lassie, that's another thing I'd like to know. I didn't have any idea as a kid, but I found out years later, Lassie was a wild woman.
Well, so she had money stashed all over.
She had money stashed all over the United States. She used to pick men like a chicken. Oh, they did. They said she was a horrible. Said that thing, she was going to church one morning, and the guy spotted her, and she took off and run back to the house, afraid to go to church because he done found where she was, living there with grandma. And she would get with these guys and hook up with them, and pick them for everything they had, and then take off. And she'd take all their money and she'd put it in a bank account here. And
And they said she had accounts all over the place.
Yeah.
And she couldn't remember where they were herself at that point. She got what
she was all that, and she had arthritis like Mama did,
Yeah.
only worse.
She was a big, heavy woman.
Yeah, and she had polio or something.
I think
She wore braces
Yeah.
and had to walk with crutches. But when she was a younger woman, they thought that she was hell on wheels, man, and she just had money everywhere, which she had got from men. And she said there was a lot of them that would have killed her if they could have found her. They'd have killed her, and because she'd get in and figure a way to get all their money and leave.
And that was
That was
Grandma
Aunt Lassie.
Parrish's-
That was Grandma Parrish's
sister.
sister.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought. Now, what about in the grocery store, which was their home, Grandma and Grandpa Parrish? I remember as a kid them talking about stories about the cans falling and rolling.
That was, Uncle Roy and Mama were both kids then, but both of them in Reba. And they all told me, and I know Mama ain't gonna lie like that,
No.
and I know Reba wouldn't.
Right.
Uncle Roy might have told her, but since both of them told it too, I know it was true. But they said they were all in the bed, and said they heard a car or a truck or something crashed into the store. They lived upstairs over the store,
Right, yeah.
and downstairs was an old store like they used to have in those days, with canned goods all over the shelves and counter down and everything. And said they heard this big crash, and said whatever it was crashed into the building, and you could hear the cans falling off the shelf, hitting the counter and rolling down and then hitting the floor. And said it was just sounded like somebody took a tree and had it inside just whirling it around. And said they all jumped up and ran downstairs, and there was nothing out of place. There was not a can gone, nothing. And I've always said, and they always said that house was haunted.
I remember them talking about it.
And,
Yeah.
Well, I can remember,
They did.
I can remember as a kid staying at that house at night. We, I guess Mom and Daddy just won't get rid of me. I don't know. But I'd spend the night over at Grandma's, and I could hear. You remember when you had the door that opened into the store, but right beside it was a door that came straight to the stairs,
Mhm.
and the stairs went right on up to the little living quarters
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yep.
And I can remember many a time hearing somebody come in, hear that door open and shut, hear footsteps come all the way up the stairs,
I do remember that.
walk down the hall, and there's a bathroom, but then and you hear them walk all the way down, go to the bathroom, flush the toilet, and there was nobody there.
Yeah, I don't remember flushing the toilet, but I remember hearing the footsteps like that, because
Yeah,
you and I both, we'd spend the night there.
Yeah,
occasionally.
exactly.
Do that, yeah.
Where you live at?
it was at, on Salem
Nelson
Street.
Street.
Nelson,
Nelson
on
and
Salem
Salem.
Street.
Salem, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Nelson and Salem.
And man, I tell you, that's, you know, they claim that place was haunted, and I believe it.
I would tell you, because as a little kid, I was always uncomfortable, even
Yeah.
little.
Mhm.
I just always felt uncomfortable upstairs. In the store, I was fine.
Store was fine,
You
exactly.
know, on Edna would make me sing "You Are My Sunshine."
I remember
Remember
that.
that?
Yeah.
And she'd give me an ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
And downstairs, comfortable, fine, no problem at all. But the few times that I went upstairs, which wasn't very often, it was spooky.
Yeah, kinda creepy up
It
there.
Well,
was
I tell you, it was creepy,
It
and like I say, well, Wayne said he's heard the steps
I remember the
too.
footsteps, I do remember
But
that.
I remember that many times, and it was just, and you could hear that old train whistle from over in Folsom.
Yeah, right.
And that was the most lonesome, crazy sound.
That was a real train.
Yeah, it was a real, this was way back when they had the old steam engines and everything. And you could hear that, I mean, which that was nothing, you know, supernatural or anything. It was just old train, but that was a lonesome sounding.
Sure.
What year
Train
was,
whistle blow.
what year was this?
Okay.
That was in the forties, I don't
I was born in '47,
know. Yeah.
and I remember it so, but it could have been more than 50,
51, somewhere around
51,
Yeah.
2-ish, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I can remember staying there in the forties and also in the fifties, so I'm not sure just when it was that I first noticed it. But I heard that quite a few times. Well, I won't say quite a few times, but 3 or 4 times at
Right.
least, that I would be there and hear the footsteps. And it's, I tell you, it makes you wonder about stuff like that.
Mhm.
Why was it creepy when you say it was creepy?
Upstairs.
You just have a
Yeah.
very
It was,
feeling.
that's the
about it.
thing, you can't
Kind of
explain.
eerie
It was just a
feeling up there.
weird, weird feeling. Of course, the house was, I don't know how old it was to begin with.
Yeah,
So I guess it gave the illusion of being a haunted house, even if it wasn't. But it just had this funny as a kid. Maybe as an adult it didn't. I guess they lived there. So it probably didn't bother them at all. But as a kid, you just automatically walked in and thought of it as something you'd see in a movie.
Yeah, you would get a
That
chill,
you'd
like
get this
almost,
chill.
like it's
Yeah,
something,
you'd automatically get this
like
chill.
something that's eerie, you just had this feeling.
well, somebody ever went up there, Harley, I mean, they slept up there.
And the lighting was awful, you know, so
Yeah.
everything was kind of dark and spooky to begin with. Just the
Oh,
ambiance.
lighting was awful as well.
The kitchen is downstairs, the dining room was downstairs, they spent almost all their time there.
Yeah.
You could look through the remember some kind of
Oh, yeah,
like
you look-
We used to go up there, when Christmas time, we'd go up there, we always went up there on Christmas Eve,
yes.
and we would open that grate, and we're looking right down in the living
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
And we'd all three be up there peeking down in there listening to what they were saying, you know.
Exactly.
It was a heat vent.
Yeah, it was a heat vent,
Well,
exactly,
upstairs,
but it
yeah.
was a floor raised, it was that
Exactly
in the
right,
floor.
right.
So
Right.
then-
I do recall that even school was over.
Yeah, I thought about that several times, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was one of those western movies where the northern soldiers came into this southern place, and the lady that lived on the plantation took her old black lady to work for her or something, they went upstairs, and they opened the thing up to listen
Mm-hmm.
to downstairs where they were making, the Yankees was making plans.
Oh, okay.
Just like we were doing.
Yeah, and well, that's what reminded me,
Yeah,
of made me start thinking about it. I said, dang, they doing the same thing we used to all do. We were grandmas. Crazy. Well, baby, I reckon we better get in there, let Wayne go to bed.